Calkins, floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, since 2015, total violent crime in Canada is up 49.84%. This is my numbers. This is Statistics Canada. Homicides are up, as of last year, 43%. Gang-related homicides are up 78% as of last year. Total sexual assaults up 74%. Total violent firearms offences, which is use of, discharge, or pointing a gun, are up 116% since 2015. Extortion is up 357% since 2015. Auto theft is up 45%. Minister, I was there when you and your cabinet colleagues voted for Bill C-75, voted for Bill C-70 or C-21, and one of those, and C-5 as well. One of the offences, which are one of the impacts of voting for the legislation that your government has tabled, was to reduce minimum penalties for a number of offences. One of them was actually extortion with a firearm, the mandatory minimum penalty of 4 years. That was the initiative that your government had, that you voted for. And in your home province of New Brunswick, extortion is up 301%. Why do you continue to pursue an agenda that goes after law-abiding firearms owners instead of an agenda that actually targets criminals and reduces crime on our streets?
Well, Mr. Calkins, thank you for the question. It won't surprise you that I don't share your view that our agenda goes against law-abiding sports persons or firearms owners. We certainly share the concern that you, I think, articulated, that's shared by many Canadians around recent incidents involving violent crime. Some of these extortion circumstances that we've witnessed in recent months, if I stick to the news conference of the Commissioner of the RCMP on Thanksgiving Monday, some of this rise in extortion in the South Asian community, for example, the Mayor of Edmonton has talked to me about it. The Mayor of Brampton, perhaps you're familiar, Patrick Brown, who was also a colleague of ours here in the House of Commons, has talked to me about this. A lot of good work is being done by our law enforcement authorities. They rely on partnerships with provinces and territories and municipal police forces. This work is done collaboratively. I have a great deal of confidence in that work, but I don't minimize the concern of Canadians. In my conversations with the Ontario Solicitor General, we try and figure out ways that we can work better together to bring down those very statistics that you spoke about.
But Minister, it's simply not true. Your government has spent millions of dollars to take away and confiscate the firearms, the lawfully owned property of vetted firearms owners across this country. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent so far. Millions more will have to be spent in order to achieve your goal to take property away from people who are simply not the problem. And yet your government has continued to pass legislation to make it easier for people to get out on bail, to make it easier for people to get out on parole. Even in the recent bill, I will applaud the fact that the only thing your government has done to unite the country is that the premiers of every province have written a letter saying that they would like you to change the bail or reverse the bail provisions that your government made in C-75. If you continue to focus on the wrong people, Minister, which is what you're focusing on right now, and I know this because I am intimately involved in the community. I am a hunter. I am an outdoorsman. I have actually been a law enforcement officer in the conservation enforcement field. I deal with people with firearms all of the time. And they will tell me, and your Prime Minister has even said in interviews, that they're going to confiscate guns, some of the guns that are being used by hunters. There's nobody. Your leader is even being trolled by police associations when he celebrated the 2-year handgun freeze transfer. Toronto police, Vancouver police are basically saying that everything that your government is doing to reduce gun violence and the optics of going after law-abiding citizens is not working. When will you reverse course? When will you go to your leader and say, reverse course, leave law-abiding citizens alone, and let's focus on criminals, let's focus on the borders, and keep Canadians safe?
Minister, about 25 seconds.
Well, 25 seconds, because Mr. Calkin conflated a whole series of issues from removing assault-style, military assault-style firearms.
firearms that were in our
Mr.
lockers
Calkins. Mr.
4 or 5
Calkins.
years ago are still
order.
there.
Mr. Calkins.
They're still there. You
Mr.
haven't
Calkins.
banned anything,
order.
Minister.
Mr. Turnbull on a point of order.
Well, it's the same thing here, running roughshod over the witnesses. If you wanted the minister to be here for 2 hours and he's come, it'd be nice if you gave him a chance to answer his question. Yeah, well, an answer would be helpful.
The real tragedy here was I was just about to hold both the minister and Mr. Calkins up as a fantastic example of how we can have an exchange without interruption. Colleagues, Mr. Calkins, you took a good chunk of time to ask the question. I'm going to give the minister a few seconds to respond. I'm going to ask colleagues that we try not to interrupt, and we'll be out of this round before we know it. Minister, just give you a few seconds.
Chair, so thank you for your indulgence. Mr. Calkins conflated bail reform. We also work with the provinces, and the House passed legislation, in fact, to provide reverse onuses on some violent repeat offenders in terms of their access to bail. He forgot that a piece of it. Our government made a commitment in 2021 to remove assault-style firearms from the streets of Canadians. Mr. Calkins says he's a hunter. He knows a lot of people who are hunters. I know a lot of people who are law-abiding gun owners as well, who are sports persons or go hunting. They don't normally go hunting with an assault-style military firearm. So we think that it's in the public safety. I'm sorry, I'm hearing some background noise here, Mr. Chair. Look, I've given a great answer, and I'm happy to leave it at that.
There is a bit of noise, Minister, but I was about to cut you off anyway. So thank you, Mr. Calkins. Okay.